This is my staircase. Although it doesn't look like much, this was the first project I created when we started restoring this ancient woodland 3 years ago. These steps allow us to bypass walking up through Badger Valley when we want to get to the top area up here at Old Growth Grove. But I never actually finished it. So in today's video, I'm going to set the last few steps, fix the handrail, and we're also going to start prepping the ground over here for planting the trees funded by your donations. My name is Brandon, and welcome to episode 30 of The Wellstead. Alright everyone, so welcome back to another video. I thought I'd just give you a quick idea of sort of the layout of this area of the woodland and why the steps are so essential. So I'm just walking up to our farm up here, which is right in the centre of the woodland in a clearing. And this footpath here leading into the farm actually used to be a track that my grandfather would use to come up to this central area of the woodland for logging all the Douglas firs that used to be up here. In fact, you can see it in old photographs of the woodland where the road is still clearly visible. So I call that Loggers Lane, and it's still our main access point to the farm. Got another clearing over there, which at the moment is being used to sort out a lot of the junk and litter on the land. Another footpath, which we've sort of created ourselves, and that is leading up there through Badger Valley. And for a long time, that was sort of the easiest way to get from the central area of the woodland up to the top there, which I call Old Growth Grove. It is the healthiest area of the woodland, covered in deciduous beech, birch, hornbeam and oak trees. And so, as I said, that was the easiest route to get to Old Growth Grove up there on the hill because it wasn't so steep. However, it's a long trek, and it's called Badger Valley because that whole area is dotted with badger setts and fox burrows. So if we were to be working up here and then wanted to get back down here, then, you know, it was that long trek avoiding badger setts, and with a wheelbarrow that was really difficult. This area here was already quite clear, and it was the perfect terrain for a staircase to just sweep around going up there. You may notice that there are one or two steps that are missing, like this one here, and we could do with one more way down at the bottom there. And you'll also notice that the handrail is really more like a decorative feature for some sort of pirate movie than a functional handrail for safety. So in today's video, I'm going to be cracking on with that. I was using for the steps old railway sleepers that were left on the land. There are quite a few dotted around. I used the majority of the railway sleepers from the chicken coop, but you can see down here, if I just walk over here through the farm, through here, there is actually some sort of derelict structure, which I think was some sort of log store or something at one point in time. And you can see these are some railway sleepers here, although they're very rotten and I probably won't be using these, but they will need to be moved and cleaned up eventually. But while I was clearing the rhododendrons back in summertime, I did actually find some more railway sleepers up at the top, so I think they're going to be the ones I'm going to go for today. I'm going to saw them up, place the last few steps, and then the last task for today is going to be continue clearing this area here. Many of you will know that we currently have a fundraiser going to help fund the replanting of as many trees as we can around the woodland, and this area is one that desperately needs it. You can see all the dead bracken here and the brambles poking out in between. Up there on the hill we do have some natural birch regeneration, but this is going to be our first main area of tree planting, and so we'd like to keep this area clear all throughout the summer, and we'll be planting trees within the next month hopefully. I'm going to go grab those railway sleepers to start with, and we'll finish those steps, get that handrail done, and have a more complete idea of what this entire area of the woodland will hopefully look like when it's finished. Oh, I'll tell you what, all this back and forth for filming YouTube videos. Anyway, I'm up here, up in the top clearing of the woodland where we were working on the rhododendrons in the summer, and we'll definitely be getting back to those soon because they are regrowing rapidly. You can see here I've got one railway sleeper piled up, another one that I discovered just there, buried in amongst those rhododendrons. And hopefully between the two of them there'll be enough to finish the last 2 or 3 steps. And so, as I was talking about, this is the area that I call Old Growth Grove behind me here. And it's beautiful all year round, but it definitely shines the most in late spring and early summer when the leaves are out on the trees, you've got the bluebells, and then you turn around and we're in Rhododendron Ridge up here. But getting on top of these rhododendrons is definitely a priority, but for today, I think, again, just for ease of access, I'm going to finish those steps. I'm actually going to make this easier for myself and just go and cut that 1 and 2 because the middle section is completely rotten and there's only about 6 inches holding the 2 end pieces together. So cut it in 2, it should be easy to move, and then it's pretty much the perfect size for a step already. The return of Slim Jim. Yeah, somehow I don't think that one's going to make a great step, so I'm just going to use the other one for now, and then maybe I'll find another railway sleeper lying around somewhere one day. Another 1 bites of dust.
3 days later.
Alright everyone, day 2 of trying to finish the staircase. The 2 railway sleepers that I knew of were clearly too far gone. I tried cutting them with the axe and it just completely crumbled to pieces. 2 things that I'm going to try to improve on today is going to be not getting one that I know has been sat on the soil for years, and number 2, maybe don't try to cut a rotten railway sleeper with an axe. So today I'm heading over here into our chicken coop, the abandoned chicken coop, which is an area seldom seen in our videos, and there's a reason for that. This area is by far the worst. Now, the abandoned chicken coop is an area that my grandfather built probably sometime in the 90s, I guess, and so essentially he tried to keep chickens here once upon a time, and I think for a short while it worked, but you know, being in a woodland, eventually the badgers and foxes made their way in here, killed all the chickens, and after that it was turned into sort of a work yard for my grandfather. There's a bit more to the story, but I'm not going to go too deep into it today, and you know, I don't want to paint my grandfather in a bad light, but essentially this area is filled with junk. But the reason I'm coming over here now is because this is where I got the rest of the railway sleepers from, because my grandfather built the chicken coop using railway sleepers and chicken wire to build a very fortified boundary. You can see we've got one railway sleeper there, but it's got a metal door attached to it, it's sort of wrapped in chicken wire. I'm not going to even bother with that. Down here we have got a few more, so we've got this one here and a few more in there. I might have better luck trying to get those ones out, but I'm also going to have another look around to see if there are any more that I don't need to try and rip out of the soil, because just down here is actually one area that I pulled a sleeper out of before, and you can see it was buried about 3 feet down, and piled with bricks as well. You can see there's a few in there still. So like I said, my grandfather really built this as sturdy as he could, and it still didn't work. In terms of the restoration plan for this area, as I said, I'll be talking about it more in future videos, but what I can say is because of the level of pollution here from plastic pollution, this is also one of the worst areas for the invasive Himalayan balsam. I think one plan that we might have is we've got these 3 lovely old mossy trees around here. So I think the best option, and I know this might sound extreme, so it's nothing's confirmed, this is just sort of my first initial idea, but the best option might actually be to completely dredge this area out about 2 feet down so that we can clear all the plastic pollution, because there are so many microparticles of plastic here that it's going to be impossible to clean up by hand. The lake is just through there, about literally like 50 feet through there, so if we could somehow channel some of the lake into here and then form like a little wildlife pond here. Potentially, again, like I said, don't take me completely for my word there, because plans will change, and of course the main priority is cleaning the area up first. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look for another railway sleeper if there's any lying around. I'll bring them over to the farm, cut them to size for the steps, and we'll get to work on clearing that area for the tree planting as well. Right, this one is only half rotten, so I think I'll be able to make it work as long as I cut the most rotten bit off. Nice. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be the sturdiest steps I've put in. You can hear it is quite hollow. This side is much stronger, so it's going to go in that way up. That's going to be the top bit that we step on. I think for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to replace the current first step, which is this little one here. So I'm thinking of putting this one here, but on its side, because this isn't that steep, but we could do with another step in between. And then this new one here is going to replace this one. There we go. What's that one out? Up there. As I said, on its back, I think. That way it's not so steep, but it covers a wider area on this gradual slope here. There's also a few old nails in there, so what I'm going to do is just try to pull those out before I bury them in the ground. There we go, much better. Now look, as I said, I'm not aiming for perfection, but I am just going to double check that it's level so that we're not tripping or at risk of spilling the wheelbarrow or something. Yeah, that's pretty spot on actually. It's leaning back a little bit, but with these I've sort of put them all on a bit of a slant anyway, so that they're resting against the mound, and that way you don't have to put as much reinforcement in front of it to stop it falling out. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you might be having a deja vu right now, because this isn't actually the first time I've done this. That step I actually set in here just under a year ago, and it was in like the 5th or 6th video on the channel or something. Don't worry, you're not going crazy if you think I've done this before. I have. I've now undone it and I'm doing it properly, which is probably going to be a recurring theme for the next few months on this channel. I'm just cutting out the area for the second step here, and as I said, I'm going to lay it on its back like it is now, sort of, you know, so that it spreads further in and is not as steep that way. But as I've just been digging, I have just found, look at this big root, that's a good few inches thick, and that is coming from our good friend, the amazingly tall and beautiful mother tree Douglas fir right next to the farm. So I'm not really sure what to do now, because I don't particularly want to cut the root. I'm sure one root wouldn't damage the tree too much, but still, you know, it kind of contradicts everything we're trying to do here, especially for a massive, beautiful tree like this, which you can't even see the top of it, so tall. This is sort of the perfect area for that middle step. I suppose we don't really need it. I'm gonna have a think about that. But as you can see, we're nearly done. So we've got the path leading up here. We've got one more step that needs to go on up there, so perhaps if I decide not to do this one, I will use that for that step up there. I have a bit of a dilemma now about what to do. My shovel just fell over. About what to do for that second step. As I said, it's not really essential. Yeah, let me think about that one, but I'm probably going to bury this sleeper up in the last step that needs finishing up there. Another root up here now. This is quite nostalgic really, because as I said, this was actually the first project I started when we started working down here and maintaining the woodland. It's quite cool to sort of have the muscle memory of, oh, I remember doing this, and then looking around and seeing all the progress we've made, even in just the farm, but you know, especially around the rest of the woodland. Right, let's see where we're at. Is that deep enough? Which way is up? That way. Oh, that's pretty good actually. Let's see. That could go down a bit more. Yeah, I think we nailed that first time. All right, there we have it, sort of. So we've got that dilemma about what to do about that bottom step. We're going to think that over a bit more. But as I said, this was the first project that I started nearly 3 years ago when we started working the land here after inheriting the woodland from my grandfather. And it's good to see that it's finally in a somewhat finished state. I didn't get around to doing the posts today, but what I'm going to be doing is actually burying some proper wooden posts rather than using these, because as you can see, they're not really in the ground and they're only temporary. So yeah, not 100% finished, but I think it's nice to get round to actually, you know, going back to fixing certain things. I think, again, like I was saying earlier in the video, perhaps this video is not necessarily about the steps. Perhaps it's more about, going back and looking how far we've come, how much we've learned, and applying those new skills and that new knowledge to finally getting the work moving in the direction that we want this land to go in. And so, although the staircase isn't completely finished and we don't have that handrail done yet, we have got the last step in up there, which means it's now at least a little bit more finished. And we cleared that area over there, ready for the tree planting that we're going to be doing very soon, thanks to the kind donations that you guys have given us on our fundraiser. The majority of the funds will be our own. Of course, this is our work here. But if you guys want the opportunity to contribute to a small rewilding project like ours, and see the impact that your donation can have and the knock-on effect that a small rewilding project like this can have for the larger projects in the world, then head down to the link in the description below. And if you want to, go ahead and donate whatever you want. And every penny just helps us get more and more trees than we're already getting. We're not asking you guys to fund the whole project. It's simply that if you want to contribute to regenerating a small woodland like this, and seeing, as I said, the implications that can have on a larger societal scale, then the opportunity is there for you guys. So we'll be using most of our own funds, but every other penny that we raise also contributes massively, because it means we can just get more and more trees in the ground. We've got this area, we've got 2 or 3 other areas around the woodland that need reforesting. So every single penny counts. And together we can build this beautiful community of like-minded people standing up for nature, who want to see these natural places return. And if that's something you're interested in, as I said, hit subscribe. That helps the channel out massively. And you can follow along our journey of rewilding this ancient booking. So thanks for watching this episode, guys, and I will see you all in the next one.